through the haunted house. All creep.
And of course, we are on live, folks, and I want to welcome you. This is just a prop, of course. Obviously, I'm speaking into this microphone. I just get a kick out of this Halloween deal, so we're going to leave it here just to have a lot of fun. And I want to welcome everybody to the I Want to Believe radio show. We've got a special guest with us, and I have not talked with this great man in my opinion, and many others' opinion, in about 3 years, maybe 4, since we've had him on our program, and we had a different network then. But I am happy to have him with us. But before I introduce him, as you see his name and his handsome face there on the screen, I would like to shout out to my co-host, Bob. Kind of having a rough time of it tonight. I know that his daughter's at the University of Michigan medical facility, and she's been having some issues. So, that's where Bob is. So Bob may join us. He may not. But I know obviously family comes first. So our prayers and our well wishes go out to Bob and Ella Penny. I also want to not be remiss in thanking our sponsor to our network and this show. The show is brought to you by Henderson Castle in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Just go to hendersoncastle.com, check them out, and you can check out all the great murder mysteries they have. This is an 1895 bed and breakfast and restaurant with a great bar in there called the Spirit Lounge. I can go into more of that later when we talk more about Henderson Castle. Another great sponsor, as you see me holding up right here on camera, that is Gun Barrel Coffee right out of Batavia, Illinois. And of course, I've got it in the appropriate mug here on the show tonight, folks. I'm a Ghostbuster. Everybody knows that, but I've got my Gun Barrel Coffee. Go to gunbarrelcoffee.com to check out their great products. $1 off every bag sold, and they've got many different versions of coffee. They roast it themselves. That is Brian, Sale, and Michael over there. $1 goes to the veterans, and it's veteran-owned, veteran-run, and supports the veterans. Great cause. Also, Paranormal Now Network, Live Radio 1, and of course, you hear us Sunday nights. You will hear this program audio-wise on Sunday night, coming up next Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Unrestricted Radio Show. So go to unrestricted.com, unrestrictedradio.com. And of course, the Southern Michigan Paranormal Night Stalkers, my group and Bob's group, been doing paranormal investigation. I mean, combined, it's way too many years. Bob's been doing it since 93. I've been at it since right around 2006, 2007. But enough about that. Everybody's waiting. Everybody's waiting to hear the guest. We've got with us a person that I consider of high renown. He's been all over television. You've seen him probably in 100 plus productions or more. He's been all over YouTube. He's been on Coast to Coast AM. He's been on probably 1,001 or more, probably 1 million at this point, podcast. Dr. Michael Lynch Phd is in the house with us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Can you hear me and everything?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Very good. I just didn't know if I should get closer or further away from the microphone.
It sounds like you're back a little bit, but we can hear you. I can hear you good.
Yeah, between myself and Lloyd Auerbach, I think Lloyd gives more lectures.
Right.
He gets in front of people, and then I do podcasts and interviews, because of COVID and everything. And I had a full lecture called The Theory of Everything. And I was going to present it, and COVID hit and never got around to it. So I've got full lectures sitting in the wings, waiting to be opened and be discovered. And I must admit that we're not looking at an elephant anymore.
Right.
There's an elephant in the room, but we're not looking at the elephant anymore. We're looking at the entire more or less the entire elephant. Okay. Now, Lloyd doesn't even see the elephant, but we definitely see the elephant now, and we definitely understand everything about the elephant except what the elephant is thinking, and that's the crux of it all.
That's a great analyzation. I love that. Yeah.
So it's not like six blind men in a room trying to field the elephant and saying, "Oh, it's a snake. No, it's a shark. No, it's a tree." No, that's all gone. That's almost totally irrelevant.
Right.
What we have is a definite understanding of the paranormal and the way it interrelates to us. So I've got to kind of step back a couple of steps and reiterate: we are not humans. We are not humans having a paranormal experience. We are spirits having a human experience dealing with the paranormal. So it gets a little bit,
I follow you. I try to give some of the same, I guess maybe not as great an analyzation as you did there, but I try to give some of the same information when I do my lectures and I host my ghost tours at Henderson Castle.
Right.
And I kind of jump on board with what you're laying out there, and I follow suit with a lot of things that you've taught me over the years, and watching all your Zen productions and everything that you've done, or anything I can listen to that you had out at the time. I took that to heart, and it marries very closely, honestly, the way that you think, and I think spiritually where I'm at with this, that I've said many of the same things. I guess long-windedly, that's where I'm trying to get with this, is that I get you. I meet with that also, and I try to pass that on to folks. A lot of that has to do because I'm trying to get rid of their fear. That's a really hard thing to do, and to have them go at some of this with more of an open understanding and an open mind. But it's tough.
We all enter the paranormal at different levels.
Right.
And some of us have a religious level background.
Right.
Some of us have a psychological level background. Some of us have biology. Some of us have physics. So we're all looking at this. We all come into it at different levels. And no one level is perfect. No one system is perfect. So
right.
What we have to do is we have to not look at it. Okay. So the other day, I'm in the museum and I'm looking at a Picasso. And I'm in the room with 10 other people.
Right.
Each one of them have a different discipline and a systematic way they're going to analyze that Picasso.
Correct.
None of them will say they like it. They'll say, oh, the texture or the paint or the color, the layout. They'll all describe something about the Picasso, but none of them will ever say they like it. And then when you say, oh, do you like it? And they say, well, the wishy-washy on it. And that's exactly the way the paranormal is. They don't have to like it. It's just the way that the universe works. And so when I developed the Zen, my paranormal Zen, is that we must come to an understanding that we are looking at a Picasso. We don't really have to like it, but we have to understand it. And it may take 10 different people to come up with the solution to that Picasso.
Right.
And then at the end, you'll laugh and smile and say, oh, we figured it out. Now I like it. Now it's enjoyable. Where before
right.
It was kind of abstract. It was elusive. It didn't have any meaning. And now we can say, oh, no. We figured it all out. We kind of like it now. But I always go back to the difference between myself, Barry Taft, Lloyd Auerbach, Jason and Grant, and Zach, and heavens knows how many other are out there.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah.
I can almost name them, by hand. I've been to their conferences. I know,
Right.
So the thing is that they don't have an idea. There's two fallacies in this. There's two fallacies. I want to bring that out. One is they don't have an idea what they're looking for. They have an assumption. I assume I'm looking for a ghost, but I don't know what a ghost is. I've never seen one. I don't understand one. Okay, and the other thing is the misperception is that there are no equipment. There is no equipment designed to videotape the ghost or to hear a ghost or whatever. And Lloyd brings this up time and time and time again, that we don't, as humans, get this, as humans, we don't have the wherewithal, the intelligence, the imagination, the design or whatever, the wherewithal to be able to build an apparatus to actually do what we need it to do. Now, that is the problem, okay? Because in the scientific method, the first line in the scientific method is you realize that you have a problem.
Right.
Now, if you don't realize you have a problem, you're gonna never ever suspect or interject that we can do that.
Right.
It's like talking to Michio Kaku. Oh, we can't go any faster than light speed.
Says who?
Yeah,
I'm a guy that always says who. It's like that's only to our understanding, right?
that's right. That's only to what we know today in 2001.
Right.
Okay? So we're trying to fit ideas of the 19th century, the 18th century, the 16th century, go all the way back. And Lloyd Auerbach said, "This is so good. You can check this out. Go to YouTube and type in Lloyd Auerbach in his latest conference." And he said clearly that the Fox sisters with spiritualism started parapsychology. And it was the Fox sisters who did this.
Right.
Well, I'm shaking my head. No.
Right.
I'm sorry, Lloyd. You're a little bit out of, because Piney the Younger was the first investigator of spirits, and he went to a deserted Roman villa where it was said that there was a slave in chains, and he wrote about this. He also wrote, and Plato wrote about not the resurrection, but the revitalization of Ur. And I'll get into that story in a second. But this goes back, 2,000, 3,000 years. I've got Jesus walking around raising Lazarus from the dead. If that's not paranormal investigations, then my land, what is it? I mean,
you're preaching to the choir, my friend. Yeah, we're on the same channel. I say the same things, and I get deer in the headlights sometimes. People are like, I don't understand. And the Roman thing as well. I tell them, you really want to talk about the first documented? Here it is. Here's where to go find it. Read up on it. You'll be amazed. You'd be amazed.
Remember that Pliny the Elder died at Pompeii because he was covered in ash. And Pliny the Junior was his son, and he went out and he investigated the strange, weird stuff that's out there.
Right.
And, he went down in history as virtually saying full-bodied apparitions, astral bodies existed, and the chains exist, and the sound exists, and the moaning existed. And this story grew legs, and it became the Christmas Carol with Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge.
Right.
Is taken directly from Pliny the Younger's story, where Ebenezer sees his partner, and he's covered in chains, and he says, "These are the chains of all the the things I did wrong, and I'm trying to release this." So he's telling Ebenezer, "Don't do what I did. Don't do that. Do something more constructive with your life. Help people, solve problems, things like that." So this goes on. So it goes even into Bill Murray's a show called Scrooge with Bill
Yep.
Murray, and the same thing happens.
Same thing, right?
Yeah, death comes, and death, opens up and it's all these people in hell. And Murray goes, "I bet you get a lot of chicks with that thing, but that's the way we've done, and we've kind of given a slipshod kind of attitude toward it. So what I did, because I had a really big, varied background, not only biology, but psychology, physics, video, television, radio. For 14 years, I had my own radio segment. So anyway, all I'm saying is that there is a way. Oh, look, I'm going to describe it like this. Let me just do this. And when I was watching Lloyd, I thought, oh, yeah, Lloyd, yeah, I understand. Okay, so imagine, if you will, I'm going to reach up here, okay, and I'm going to grab a television transmission, and I'm going to put it here. Oh, what is this? What is this? Oh, this is the news, Okay, I'm going to reach up here and grab radio. I'm going to grab AM frequency. I'm going to put it in my hand. Oh, this is a sports show. Okay. Then I'm going to reach up here and grab FM. I'm going to bring it down in my hand, and this is a talk radio. FM will be music or talk radio. I'm going to pull down. Okay. Now, in the air right now, wherever you're at, you're getting 80,000 cell phone messages whipped through your body. 80,000. Now, if I was in an airplane, I'd have 100 to 200,000 cell phones, which we all carry with us. I got my cell phones going through our bodies, affecting our cells on a microwave level. Now, how do I know that they're there? Is because I have a device that receives that frequency of information.
Correct.
Right. And how do I know the television works? I turn it on, and I get dish, I get satellite, I get broadband, I get whatever. I get ABC, NBC. It's either being transmitted through the air digitally in a digital signal, or it's on the internet.
Right.
Through fiber optics.
Yep.
Okay. Now, how do I know? Now, if I'm just looking at it, I just look at it, I don't see anything until I have a receiver. Until I have a receiver to receive it.
Right. That shows you it's doing what we think it's doing. Right.
So, where is the paranormal? It is all around us. It is us. It emanates through us, just like microwave communication does.
Yeah.
Sorry, my chair has a tendency to roll around on me. Okay.
It's paranormal.
Sorry. But anyway, so until we make a device that can transmit, download, or intercept that digital signal, we don't know it exists. And the problem that we have, that a lot of people in the older 20th century have, is that they don't understand that signal exists.
Right.
And all you have to do is produce an apparatus in order to catch that signal, receive that signal. That's it. That's it. So can you turn radios into scanners and download voices, or can you develop a spirit box or a ghost box or whatever? Yeah, that's easy to do. All you need to do is do the proper frequencies for that type of information. Okay.
Weren't there gentlemen who, when they were and I wanted to say maybe it was CBS or NBC, whoever was the first, that when they were experimenting with actually finally going on the air, and they were using a lot of their copper wire sets, their receivers, transmitters, they were getting voices. I know I saw this on a documentary, and they didn't go into the paranormal with it, just kind of, nonchalantly mentioned it in the documentary, and it stymied them. But they were picking up voices where there should be none because nobody else had radio. So even back then, you couldn't sit there and say, well, it's random traffic. Well, it's the only station that's going out right now, and they're not broadcasting. So what are these strange voices they're getting over their copper wire sets? And I'm glad you addressed that, because I use an old Radio Shack hack box, and I got to tell people that I was not sold on that when it first came out at all, because people were misidentifying and misusing it. But I have had things that made my head explode, and there's obviously somebody out there, whether it be spirit or parallel existence, I don't know, doctor, but I've gotten responses sometimes to direct questions in a room with 40 people, 60 people in a room, and somebody's answering me out of the air. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm with you on that. I mean, it's all, I'm a Tesla guy too, Yeah,
and Tesla figured it all out. He said there's, he had the 3 numbers, 369. And then he also said, if you understand the frequencies of the universe or the cosmos, you have discovered everything.
Everything, right.
And that is absolutely correct. Now, I don't have my notes with me, I'm sorry to say, but let me just give you, I wrote some stuff down here so I can have it. And of course, yeah, here it is. Okay, yes. Now,
when we all reach a certain age, doctor, we get that CRS.
Hell yeah.
Bob is always famous for reminding me of that. And so go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I don't badmouth anyone who is trying to sit down with a soldering gun and some stuff to try to receive this information. And
I won't interrupt again, but I wanted to let people understand that you saying that he is 100% correct, folks, because he's never done that. Now, he's talked about things and exposed some things that needed to be talked about and exposed, but you've never gone out to set someone's, excuse the French, ass on fire or to create a problem. And so I want to make sure that they know I have your back on that as well. You've never done anything like that at all.
No, I don't.
And I love you for that.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think
it's not. It's not.
It's relevant that we have factual evidence, confirmed evidence. Yes, that's paramount. Now, everything else, okay, well, I'm not saying the market is closed and we're not going to trade anymore today. I'm saying that everyone comes in at a different angle, a different level,
like you said,
different understanding, and they're going to bring something new to the field. But they can't sit there and just make stuff up about the field, thinking that nobody knows. It was like, oh no, there are people that know, and I can sit down with Michael Sherman and beat his pants, because a skeptic must prove his point, not just say, "Oh, it doesn't exist."
I cringe when I hear that name. I still hate that name.
Yeah,
obvious reasons. Yeah.
Joe Nichols, like the worst, lamest investigator I have ever seen. But okay, that's just my rant. I don't want to get on.
No.
But I'm saying though, if you come in to me and you say, "Oh, Mike, I've got some cool stuff," and it always works 100% of the time, I'm going to say, "Okay, throw it onto the fire and let's watch it work, and let's see if it fulfills a need in the investigation capability. If it doesn't fulfill the need, then don't do it." When you go to your doctor, they run 100 tests on you. And then they're going to say, "Oh, well, we'll just wipe the ones off that were negative. And the ones that were positive means you've got a disease, you've got a problem, blah, blah, blah. You're anemic, you have high blood pressure." I mean, it's not really a disease, it's a condition, but they always call it a disease. I don't know why. But anyway, so the deal is that's right. We need 100 people running 100 different tests just to be able to clarify which ones are going to work and which ones will not work. And it's experimentation over experimentation. Einstein had it easy. He was a child. He was a child. He was writing down stuff that no one could prove because they didn't have the equipment to prove it.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I sit down and I write an equation and I slide it over to psychologists. Well, they have no idea because they're not a physicist. Okay, so I slide over other things, and it won't ring a bell to them until it's biological or psychological. So it's a chemical reaction or psychological reaction, or it's an evaluation by that individual. Anyway, okay. But the deal is that if I had enough people in the room, 4 or 5 at least, I could sit there and write down something on a piece of paper. Don't have to prove it. Don't have the equipment to do it. But it's a theorem to get me started in that direction, because I realize there is a problem that we can't pick out the frequencies
it's tough,
in the paranormal.
Right.
Now, the question comes, are they really there? Now, that's the problem everybody else has. I don't have that problem because I know they're there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have that issue either.
Okay, I know you.
Right.
Now, Tesla, let me just throw this as a side note for all you paranormal junkies out there. Tesla developed what was called a spatial equalizing analyzer. A spatial equalizing analyzer. Okay. What was that really designed for? Well, nobody really knows because the government confiscated that. But we do know that was used on USS Eldridge. When the USS Eldridge went through time and space, it had a partial spatial analyzer and equalizer. So when they got into trouble, all they had to do was fine-tune the frequency, and then it adjusted for them. Okay, Tesla knew that there were thousands of frequencies out there. All we had to do was harmonize with one of them, and we would get information.
Right.
You see, that's all.
Just a little side comedy remark too. It's like, I just wish the government would stop trying to hide things and lie about it, because as career criminals, they're really terrible at it. I just wish they would get the message. But go ahead what you're saying. I got to put humor in here once in a while, because you look back at that stuff like the Eldridge and other things, like, you guys were terrible at hiding this stuff. We're still wise to you.
They were so dumb they got caught and then not arrested. That's how dumb they are. They're too scared to be arrested.
Right.
So anyway, let's boil this all down, and I'll give this a real suitcase kind of situation. Our makeup, your body, the air that's here, this table that I'm sitting in or have in front of me, my desk, is all designed with what's called a quasi-crystal. And the quasi-crystal is developed for one reason, and that is for energy to pass through it and around it and then come back out the other side. So a quasi-crystal is the blueprint, the foundation, the architecture that keeps not only the building strong, it keeps information to pass through it. Okay. So the entire universe is built and designed for the transfer of energy. Inside the energy is information. E equals I. Energy equals information. No matter how simple or how complex, the information is the key to our entire universe. It's how we not perceive it, it's how we connect with it. The energy is connected. So I can have a transponder tower, FM or AM, shooting off radio waves. Okay. And then I can have a radio to catch those radio waves and turn it into information.
Yep.
So that radio wave is not just a wave, it is information packed into transmittable energy.
Yep.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So forever, we've had the problem, not what entities are, not what consciousness is, The problem we've had is consciousness in an environment that promotes information, not just energy, but
No, I get that. I get that. Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So now, because we made this radical jump, we understand that the universe is designed for communication to come in, information to be received, and then be sent back again. Okay. So once we understand that, then we understand that consciousness is energy, quote unquote, and quote unquote information. So when I talk to a ghost, let's say I'm talking to a ghost, I'm talking to a spirit, entity, consciousness outside the body. Okay. When I'm doing that, I'm talking to pure energy that is and has, what does it have? A lifetime of information and memory. It has a vocabulary. It has structure in its own personality. It knows that it's a male or female. So it's got a catalog of a bunch of information.
Right.
And it's not in a body. It's floating around my room. It's floating around a room. Okay. So the other thing is, where does the information come from? The information does not necessarily come from me. Okay. I'm not imagining this. It's there. Radio waves are there. Television waves are there. Microwaves are there. Telephone, cell phone radiation is going everywhere. So it doesn't come from me. I'm not creating this fantasy. This is not a fantasy. I'm not creating this. So what is it? It is energy, which I'd say is outside the box. It's not contained anymore.
Right.
It does not lose its identity. Energy outside does not lose its identity. Okay. Now, you have a psychic, or you have a ghost box that you can rely on. Okay. They can ask a question. You can ask a question, get the information back. Where does that information come from? Does it come from the bandwidth or the sea of time and space? Or does it come from a stored location that in that energy setting you have access to?
Right.
Okay. So we can look at this two different ways. One is we have a computer and all of our files are on our desktop. We can find them real easy. Or we have a computer, but it has an extended memory, which is outside. It's a plug-in. It's a plug-in thing. And we can put files in there and save them in there, which are not directly associated with our computer. Okay, so our computer runs the main functions of our computer. The software runs the main functions, but there is an external hard drive that stores a lot of our information. Okay. Somehow, the entities in the sea of energy and information are able to access exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
And they give me the answer because why? I already know it. I never asked a question that I did not already know. And so when I ask the question, it's not, and I'm like psychic as a rock. I'm neutral. You have to, later on, you have to get into the profile of being neutral. No emotion. Nothing but hard-headed, you're going to give me what I'm asking for.
And that's great. That's great, advice and instruction, because when I have brought people into the group over the years, that's the first thing, some of the advice I took from an individual and things that I had read, some of the folks who've now passed on, like, Brad Steiger, a few other people who also said that come into this very neutral. You've got to take what you kind of know, leave it outside, come into this, like you said, just strictly everything's right there. Straight, hard questions. You're looking to find answers. I realize that too, that there's times I ask a question, I already know the answer to it, but I'm just trying to get a response that's in tune with what I'm expecting to hear. Does that make sense? I mean, that's kind of how I operate. Because
I'm going to ask, I'll ask a spirit or psychic or whatever.
Right.
what color is something? You know, like I'll have a Post-it in my hand. It's like, well, I know this is yellow, but I want to ask the psychic or the entity what color
Right.
this is. And even in a foreign language, they'll say, oh, that's yellow. You know,
Yep.
there's
I've
no
gotten
doubt.
the same responses.
Like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's amazing. Yeah.
we're on the same
I
page.
I asked at a birthday party at again one of these tours, doctor, that they had a big giant birthday cake on the table. Now nobody had said that out loud. They were sharing the cake, and I turned on the box and I did my thing, and I started asking questions. And sometimes it works great. A lot of times I get nothing, and that's probably how it should work. And so I asked, "What's in the middle of the table?" And this woman's voice came across very clear and said, birthday cake. She didn't just say cake, she said birthday cake. And of course, everybody gasps in the room. They're looking at me like I'm pulling strings. And I'm like, hey, this is, I said, thank you so much. And I don't know that it was Mary Henderson, because that's the place that I was at, was Henderson Castle.
Oh, yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. So I'm still astounded by that, but somebody answered me. I mean, I expected the answer.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And that's the first thing. That's the first thing. I mean, Paranormal 101. You don't ask a question not unless you're prepared for the answer.
Correct. I've had some doozies.
Okay, and so a lot of people will walk in and say, okay, what's my zodiac sign or whatever, and they'll get it. You know, they'll get the information, and then they'll say something like, when am I going to die? And they'll say, in 5 years. Okay, well, if you're not prepared for that answer,
don't ask
that question.
Right.
Especially about relatives or loved ones, because it rips you up inside. I got to the point of saying, I'm not going to go there anymore. You know, if you have a critical disease, your doctor will tell you, I'm not going to do that anymore. But a lot of times, I got some very good friends, and they developed cancer, and I found out about it before their doctors did. You know, and I had to tell them, and it's not, it's not good. I mean, for me, because
and I've heard that testimony before in this field with other people. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's tough. Anyway, so I get to the point of I got to stay away from that, and I work with a nurse. She was a registered nurse. She's a hypnotherapist, social worker. And she's a psychic, and she had her own practice. And let me just tell you, the only thing that separates us between us and the reptilians is that we have a subconscious, and they really don't. But somehow, in the development of the human condition, like cats and dogs, we develop a subconscious that can be reprogrammed and readjusted. Right. And so she took this on through hypnosis to be able to get into people's problems, cure the anxieties, smoking, overeating, fear of heights, fear of public speaking. I mean, she had clients coming in all the time saying, oh, I just got a job promotion. I got to give a lecture, every 2 months or on the quarter, with a quarter report. I'm scared to death. What am I going to do? So she would reprogram them. So the mind has a frequency, doesn't really change too much, but the program in the software can be changed.
Right.
And that's the cool thing about it. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up, which no one's ever talked about, is I guess I'll put this on the table for everyone to yell at me later, because I get a lot of people hate me out there. A lot of people hate me. I'm not one of those guys that just kiss your butt and move on. But
right.
So,
but before you do that, I want you to hold that thought. We're going to take a break. This is for our audio audience only. We're going to take a quick break right here on the I Want to Believe radio show. Would like you to listen to some of our great PSAs and some of the music we throw in there. And we will be back right after this. And we're back. And thanks for joining us. And of course, as I say on most of my podcasts, we don't really go anywhere. We just sit here and say, hey, we'll be right back. And we are back with Dr. Michael Lynch, and I am Dan Horoyd of the Southern Michigan Paranormals, hosting in place of Bob tonight on I Want to Believe. Again, folks, check out our great network. go to www.themichigan69podcast.com. That is our brand new network. And you go over to the Paranormal Now page, and you will find all of our paranormal programming. You'll find the SMP Paranormal Show, I Want to Believe Paranormal Show, which is what you're listening to and watching right now, with a lot of great information and guests. I mean, we try to keep this, as the doctor has said, out of the box, keep an open mind. I mean, don't believe everything to the fantastical, but keep your mind open, folks. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have much more things over there to offer. Henderson Castle, 1895 bed and breakfast and restaurant here in Kalamazoo, our sponsor, as well as you see it right here on the video, Gun Barrel Coffee out of Batavia, Illinois. And I'm drinking the Hoo-Yah brand tonight, which is the medium roast. And I also have the Moab one upstairs, and I've got to try the Battleship because I worked with a lot of guys, doctor, who were when I did corporate private security over the years, I worked with a lot of guys who just came out of the Navy, and they used to make Navy coffee. I mean, this is stuff you can shine your shoes with, remove the paint off your car.
Sure.
So apparently they have a Battleship brand of coffee at Gun Barrel that'll do the same thing, and I will try that at some point in time. So back to what you were going to start out with before I rudely cut you off to take a break there, doctor.
No, that's all right. Okay, so let's look at your body as a computer, and it has software which is running it. Now, some of it's autonomic, and the other type is sympathetic. So some just runs on its own, like your heart just runs on its own. Your lungs breathe air on their own. You don't have to sit here and think, But
Right.
You can reach a point where you can control your breathing and control your heart rate and control a lot of these things that they thought was just totally impossible. Well, that's kind of the way it kind of works. But because we have frontal lobes and they're positioned right behind our eyes, the idea is that our information, what we are learning, let me just say this, what we are learning and trying to put down as memory comes right out of our frontal lobes and goes right into the Akashic records 24/7. So if you can get into the Akashic records, you can go forward and see lives that you haven't lived yet, or go in the past and see the lives that you have lived. And in this life, it is being also recorded and stored in an alternative hard drive. And that is what we call the Akashic records. The point being is that we can't access them. We can if you're psychic enough, or if you have angels or guides that can do that and bring you the information or give you the information. That's right. But while we're alive, while we're awake, while we are in a conscious mind, we are transmitting our memories into an external scenario.
Right.
When we get there, when we die, we can go and view all of those memories all over again. Now, we're going to do that again when we have a near-death experience. We will have our life review. Some will, some won't, but many of us will. When we have that life review, we will see where all this is being stored and how it is a three-dimensional memory. We will see it in 3 dimensions. We'll be standing there as we look at ourselves and how stupid we have been through our lives. But that memory, whatever that memory is being recorded in an external place, not here in the biological brain, but stored someplace else.
Yeah.
I was at a conference and a guy said, okay, where is consciousness? Where's consciousness? And I said, we don't know. It's not in your brain. I can guarantee you that. But it's in our space and time. It's here. It's just not here.
And I love your answer to that, because I tell people all the time that they want you and I. You've been at this a lot longer than me, but they want people like me too to give them answers. And I'm like, you know what my answer is? We don't know. And anybody who tells you they do, or gives you any kind of absolutes in this field, I'm telling you right now, please steer clear, because we don't know.
Everyone's part of heaven is different.
Right.
And that is,
I believe that.
That is what that's what you have to understand, and especially when you go on an investigation and you come across a place that is haunted. Well, why is it haunted? And that is because in some cases, not all, that entity is reliving his life in his space of heaven, which is right there on that old farm.
Wow.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
Farmer
you're making
Brown,
me feel very good about some of the things that I've surmised
yeah,
on that level, because I've said that. I've thought that. Thank you. You're
Farmer
making me feel better.
Farmer Brown's best years of his life
Right.
was working that farm.
Correct.
Well, that was 150 years ago. The farm is now a housing tract of 1,000 homes. But where Farmer Brown's house was, that location,
people are seeing him, right? Right.
because he's still there. You
Yeah.
know, he's not going anywhere. That's
No.
his slice of heaven.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, my slice of heaven's a Ferrari and
Yeah. Yeah.
full tank of gas. Okay, that's my slice of heaven. So if you get a Ferrari that's haunted, it's going to be me. I'll be haunted.
I cannot wait to have you up here at the castle with me to talk to the folks, because I've said stuff like that, and they've asked about, people hanging around cemeteries and why, and I've given kind of the explanation you're giving. I said, I don't really have an answer. All I can tell you is that I think there's reasons, obviously, for every different type of true activity or haunting, if you will. I don't like haunting is kind of a negative thing for me sometimes, but I do make a joke that it's like, well, I'd be catching a ball game, kind of doing things, if I was free will to just go about and do what I want. But as you said, I can think of some things that I really I'd love to doing. And if I had a chance to come back and watch over my grandkids and be around, my family, and then visit a place that I held special, you're right. I try to tell people in comfort, maybe that's your slice of heaven. So just like you're explaining, that when you pass off, that's their piece of heaven, and it's different for everybody. And we could get off on, I know we could get off, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but I know we could get off on so many different avenues of, why people are stuck and why people haven't moved on, but I'll let you continue. But I love the fact that every time I talk to you, and it's too far, few and in between, that I'm rest assured that I'm in good hands and I'm on the same thought pattern. So I bless you for that.
So, and the other thing is too that we have to understand is that it's all normal and natural.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing here that is abnormal but your mind.
Right.
The consciousness can be abnormal, but that doesn't mean, or dysfunctional, but that doesn't mean that it's changed in any way, shape, or form. So what was important to it while it was alive is the same thing that's important to us now. Now, the other thing is too is that it can see. Okay, next time you have your ghost box on, ask a question. What do you see? What can you see? What can you see? And you'll be surprised on the answer. One is, I see the lights of heaven. One would be, I see everything, time and space. And I would say, can you see the future? Yes. Can you see the past? Yes. Oh, yeah. And
you must be reading my mind, Doctor, because I've done that.
I mean, it's three.
Yeah, I've done that. And again, yeah, I've been moved emotionally a few times by the responses. We've even been told that we're the ghosts. I said, well, can you see us? And they said, well, you're dead. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then somebody else came back in and said, you're the ghost. Now that's happened more than once. And we thought maybe their spectrum or how they're seeing us too, with the transfer of information, or as you described it, maybe this makes sense, that to them is what they see. And I've asked about colors. Sometimes they've been very close. I've had something red in my hand and they've said pink, which may make me believe that the spectrum is slightly different, and it is red, but they're seeing it in a pink hue. Does that make sense? Where you're going with this?
Right. We only see 7, maybe 8 colors in the spectrum, and variation in between.
Right.
They see stuff that we can't.
Everything. Right.
They can see television waves. They can see radio waves. They can see the next universe if they want. I mean, there is no limit. Now, I was in an airplane. I was coming back from Europe one time. And I pulled out, I asked the passenger next to me, I said, do you mind if I run an experiment? And he goes, no. He said, go ahead. So I pulled out my dowsing rods. And I carry a pair of dowsing rods with me quite a bit. And at the time, I had a guide. And I thought, okay, let's just see if he can get in an airplane with me. And sure as the world, I sat there and I dowsed, asked several questions. He said he was right there in the airplane with me. Pure energy, no matter, no substance, but he was able to fly right with me all the way to JFK. So there's nowhere they cannot be, and there's no time or place that they cannot be. So when we got into technical remote viewing and other psychic compilations and abilities, we realized the same thing. The human psychic can go and be places where there's nothing but vaults, safes, and security.
Right.
I'm going to tell you a quick story real quick. I don't know how much time we got left. I'm sorry.
No, we're good. We've got plenty of time.
Okay. Because the idea was that Colin Andrews is the first person who came out and photographed and measured crop circles. Okay, Colin Andrews lives in England, and he kept all the information on his computer, which wasn't much at the time, but it was a computer, and he kept all the information, drawings, side notes, things like that, in the computer. And then he said, about a year into crop circle research, he would notice at 3 o'clock in the morning, his computer would kick on just by itself. And then he would watch it for a little while, about an hour or less, and then it would shut itself off. Now, Colin said that was kind of strange because he knew it wasn't extraterrestrials, so it had been someone Earth-based. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Know about his research. And lo and behold, 5 or 6 years later, Major Ed Dames comes up and says, oh, we were given a target in England, and at 3 a.m. every morning, we would hit that target. And guess who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crop Circle Research Central.
Right.
So technical viewers are not necessarily psychics, but they have the same ability to go where and do things electronically, electrically, that only an entity would do. Now, that's the key. That's the whole key. Right.
I remember Art when he was alive, Art Bell, and George too, doing those same experiments where everybody would have a thought about changing the weather, and sometimes this would happen.
Yes.
And that blew my mind too. So yeah, you're right on the same thing. Yeah, I get it.
The whole idea is the targeting of the information. We know the energy is there. Now we have to focus that information on what it is. Now I'm just go over this just real quick. When you're in the
got plenty of time, Doctor. As long as you want to be with me, we got plenty of time.
Small examples. These are small examples. But anyway, so when you're in the military, in the old days, they would put your mission on a big board.
Yep.
They would say, this is your mission, okay? And you had no right to refuse it. And the military learned very easily that as long as you're focused on the mission, you will be successful. But if you didn't focus on the mission, you would not be successful. See where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
So they targeted each mission by giving a mission platform so that everyone, whether you carried a gun or carried a whatever, was part of that mission. And the mission was to be focused in your mind, so you had no other recourse but to resolve that issue on that mission.
Correct.
Okay. And lo and behold, it never failed. So So now we're talking about modification. Okay, we lose everything else. We get tunnel vision on that, and then we are successful. Now we start talking about power of positive thinking. What's that other one? It escapes me right now, but it's like if you think about it, if you write it down, you put it on your image board.
Yeah. My wife's a believer in that. She, you put it out to the universe and it'll come back, because it's kind of like you said, you're actually putting that out there and it answers. And
Right.
I've seen the magic of that. Not all the time, but
Right.
there's been a lot of times.
Now let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you how I did this. Okay, there was a used item store, kind of like Goodwill. It was like a haberdashery kind of thing. It wasn't really Goodwill. It was Red Racks, I think it was Red Racks. Anyway, I would go to it. Okay, and every week they got new junk thrown in there. So what I did was I put a message out to the universe. I need a briefcase, or I need ties, or whatever. And lo and behold, now I wouldn't go there every day. I'd go there about once a week or so on a schedule, kind of a schedule. And I'd go in, and then I would look for that item. And lo and behold, it would be there. And that was
It's eye-opening. Yeah, it's mind-boggling. Right. I've done the same thing. Right.
All my life, I've been told, go out, get a job, work hard, buy everything you need, be the ultimate capitalist and consumer, and your work will be fine, right?
Right.
Don't deal in used garbage, because you never know what's going to happen. Well, the deal is that when I set out a message of I need a new briefcase or new necktie or whatever, I would say, send it to that store.
Yeah, there's no truer phrase, folks, than ask and you shall receive. That's not just a directive. That's like this Christian thing. I think it's a universal thing. And I've done the same thing and been amazed. Right.
The door you need to knock on is the creation store.
Yeah, no one's going to open it unless you knock on it. Right.
Exactly. So you say, and it's not really like a need, or it's not really a need. It's kind of like I want this. I kind of need it.
Right.
I want it at the same time, but it's more of a need scenario. And sure enough, man, a week would go by, 2 weeks. It's like, okay, let's go down and rip that store apart and see if there's something there. And sure enough, man, it was there. Now, here's this one other thing. Okay, I wanted a electric knife that you normally cut turkeys with.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But I saw a YouTube video where a guy was cutting foam for foam, like cushions.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I need one of those electric knives to cut into foam so I can put my equipment in so everything will be okay. Well, sure enough, I go down to the place. I couldn't find it. I go, oh my God. Either I just overlooked it, or maybe they didn't have it. The universe could be off. There's so many gears going on. So I go, okay. I come home and I douse. I had the same guide that was with me on the airplane. The same guide is now with me at home. And I say, I looked for that electric knife. And I said, it wasn't there. And he goes, no. He goes, it was there. You just didn't see it. Go back. He goes, I want you to go back and look again. And I said, oh, okay. So I get in the car, I drive down there. It's not very far, but it's just, hassle. So I get out, and I go through it real slow. And sure enough, boom, right where I thought I had looked before, there it was in a brand new box, sitting there on the shelf. The cord had not been undone. It had been as if someone went down to Sears and brought that and laid it right there on the shelf.
Right there for you, right? Right.
Now, okay, all you disbelievers out there, you can say, oh, yeah, 1 or 2 times, that's a coincidence. That's a quinky dink. That's a coincidence. That's just never going to happen again. After 20 plus times, it gets far beyond a coincidence.
Right. I'm the believer in serendipity being part of that ratio. That's exactly what it is. And you're not saying it's every time. I mean, that's almost impossible to comprehend. But yeah, I'm with you. It's happened, and I had a thought.
what was in my mind transmitted to the universe, and
Correct.
somehow the gears and cogs all meshed and ended up at that store exactly what I need and when I need it.
Right.
Okay, so this started thinking. I'm still on this project. It's been 5 years. And I suggest anyone to do this project. Go on YouTube, find 10. I started out with 10 tarot card readers on YouTube. They can be from Australia, England, America, Canada, wherever. And I mean, I found them. No two are in the same country, no two are in the same city or the same state. I got one in Canada, got one in Australia, got one in UK, I got one in Los Angeles. I have another one in somewhere in the Midwest. I know her name, but I think she's up north of St. Louis because she gets a little bit worse weather than I do. But anyway, so I started out with 10, wrote them all down. Now I'm down to 5. After 3 years, my first study was 3 years, I found out that 5 out of 10, more actually than 50%, pulled the similar cards. And they had the same tarot deck. So we're pulling similar cards.
Right.
Some pull 8, some pull 12, or 9, 12.
Right.
So what the deal is with clarifiers, okay, what the deal is that they shouldn't, through the odds of mathematics
Correct.
and random generation, because you have 52 cards on 10 decks, that's 520 cards randomly shuffled. I mean, Las Vegas doesn't even have this crazy
Right.
statistics, okay?
Right.
And they win 90% of the time. So,
right.
So I go, okay, if there's nothing to this, if this is all just synchronicity, quinky dinks.
Yeah, just lucky bunk. Yeah, just luckiness. Right.
Just lucky, right. So I write down the times and the dates, the decks they use. And I'm a Virgo, okay? 90% of all tarot card readers are Virgos. They got some Scorpios in there. And
I did not know that.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
now learned something.
And a lot of them are women. So you know they're perfectionists, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
they got to get it right.
Yeah, we could do a whole nother show on that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I never trust a male tarot card reader. I don't trust them. They just know they never.
I've never tried to work with male psychics either. It's usually been the females. I mean, I've gone through some people, but it's usually been the females that I honed down after going through a few. And there's only 2 that I trust over years.
But female is biologically adapted.
Right.
The hemispheres of the brain in the. No, you're going to get me on this one.
No, they're you can explain it better than me.
Their brains are more connected.
Right.
There's a thicker wedge that connects both hemispheres of the brain. A man doesn't have that. We're slightly separated, so we don't really connect. Emotions and.
I'm the only person in my family outside my great grandfather, doctor, that. And I don't know if I told you that last time you're on the show, that I have some sensitivity. I let it happen on its own will. I don't go out there and practice things, meditation, but I've been able to get things off people that have nothing to do with paranormal. There's times I know they've been to a place or just being able to read. And my great grandfather had that. My great grandmother, who was 100% Ojibwa, Native American, she was the person in her turtle tribe. Just a quick background. They met. Because he was a trick rider and a horse handler for Wild Bill's or Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Yeah. That's how they met out in North Dakota, and her tribe had been transferred out there, and her family started working for that circus. They met, came to Michigan, spiritualists. So when you started talking about spiritualists, I knew the names, and so they were big here. They did a lot of what you were saying, but where I'm going with the story is that it was tough for me because I was really hard on anybody who was coming to me saying they had all these gifts. And as you said, I would have to run experiments with people, take them out on investigations or do some things to prove whether or not they really had some sort of, I don't call it intuition, but I guess the long-winded version of where I'm going here is that I respect women as very powerful creatures. And I think that they're more in tune than men. I feel weird because I'm the only man since my great grandfather, but my daughters all have the gift. My mom had a weird gift. God rest her soul. She told us we were going to have 4 kids. We only had 2 at the time. And we ended up having 4. She saw a lot of things and would tell me things. Uh, but you're right. I think women, you describe it better because you know all the physiology and things that are going on with it.
The physiology actually gives women a better mental structure for information to transfer through both hemispheres.
Right.
Now, at the time, I did not believe this, but as I kind of got older, I kind of like, yeah, there's something going on here. So anyway, after a 5-year study on tarot card readers, I'm down to 4. And sure enough, they don't talk to each other. They're not associated with each other. I can tell you that much. And they pull at least 40%,
Wow.
of the same cards with the same deck.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, that's an astronomical, mathematical impossibility. That's billions of odds.
Oh, yeah.
Trillions of odds that they would pull 2 cards. Okay, but no, they're all pulling the Tower card. They all pull the Justice card. They all pull, certain cards. Some read them upside down, and the other reads just up.
Right.
But they all come to the same. Now there's a variation on how they interpolate the cards, how they're going to transcribe the cards.
Right, interpretations, yeah.
Right, because that's individual.
Yep, it is. Yep, very much so.
Someone on a horse, I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to see something, So each individual has their twist on the interpretation. Right. But the results of the cards which come out in the deck, no matter how they do it, whether they put a blindfold on or however they do it,
that's incredible.
Are the same.
That is incredible.
Blows me away. And I've got parapsychologists from the Rhine Institute saying that is a freaking impossibility. And it's like, dude, you're playing with what, 4 or 6 different cards.
Oh, not even to mention the possibility of chaos and randomness that goes in that equation. It's crazy.
So I'm sitting there going, you have no cards. You have a star, some wavy lines, and a circle and a square. And I said, that's it.
Yeah, right. The Ghostbuster equalizer. Right. Yeah. Right. It's just some wavy lines. Yeah.
We're talking about interpolation.
Right.
Out of the universe, laying them on the table and saying, this is what's going to happen, or this is what the cards say. Now, I've had psychologists, parapsychologists look at me and say, man, you just wasted 4 or 5 years of your life. And I was like, no one had ever done it, because every time I ask them, man, I go, have you ever done tarot card readers? And they go, oh no, it's a waste of time.
Well, you were like, you and I can't really name anybody else. I know there's a few out there, but you're like the guy that I listened to as a physicist. You're just like, so many of them are stuck on that science, the religion of science, that they can't think outside themselves. And like you said, their perception of our understanding. And I like that you do, you talk about guides and spirits and angels and all this stuff, because I've never believed, just as a layman, folks, I've never believed that you can have all that and that can't be part of the soup. It can be, it's a little bit of everything. What is so wrong with that? And I love that about you. I wanted to go back to what you said, because I wrote down a note here when you did your experiment on the plane, and it led into, the tarot cards, asking, if this person with you was with you. I did an experiment very similar. We were on a road trip. Obviously, as a Ghostbuster, I wasn't in my paranormal mode. We were going to go do a birthday party for a girl who had special needs. And so I had a speaker that I take with me. We play music and we dance for the folks in our suits and our packs. And as we're in the car, I was telling the driver, one of my friends, and I had 3 other people with me, about what we do with this device called the Ghost Box. Well, I just happen to have my case, because I have other things in that I bring with me, which is a camera and some things to take pictures when we do these get-togethers. So I pulled that out, hooked it up into the speaker, and started just randomly throwing out questions over this hack box, which is now playing over this little stadium, speaker that you take when you go and do tailgaters.
Sure.
So, and where I'm going with this is that my answer to you is yes, I believe, because somebody started talking to us as we were going by certain landmarks. I wasn't even asking what the landmark was, and voices were coming through every so often saying things that we were spotting. And I found that amazing. The other thing I have to keep doing when I do these runs, folks, any of you that do this type of work, is I always have to ask them to speak one at a time, because I can now hear back there. There's so many trying to answer at the same time. And I believe my mom came through, and we hadn't even reached a year yet when my mom passed. And I know this is touchy for a lot of people, because some people say, well, how come certain parents come back and mine didn't? I don't have an answer. All I can tell you is I didn't expect it. I heard a voice come over the thing and said, Danny Merle. My mother is the only person that ever called me that, and that's when she was trying to get my attention. I could tell it was her voice, and then I asked.
Little name comes out real quick.
Oh man, I was the shivers and the emotions, and I tried to keep it together. And she only answered one more thing, and I said, "Is that you?" And I got a yes. Sounded like your voice, and then it was done. And I don't know if that was to let me know that she was aware. But shortly after that, I think she came to me in a dream, and that's a whole nother show. Because I definitely want to have you back on. We've now reached an hour, and we could go 4 hours. I'm telling you, this show.
Yeah, I'm not even warmed up yet. But what I want to
go ahead.
Go ahead.
We got time.
Sorry. No, but what I'm saying is that the entities to the ghost box have not changed their personality. Okay, and that's the key. They have not lost their memory, and they have not changed their personality, and that's the key to solidified, which I call our factual evidence within the consciousness itself. Meaning, just because I'm dead doesn't mean I'm going to have less love, for my family, or I'm going to be more hateful or aggressive. No, you take with you what you can't really leave behind, and that's the whole key. You take it. You have to take it with you. So if you have a lot of baggage, like Ebenezer Scrooge, then you're going to take it with you.
Oh yeah.
If you reduce that baggage, that emotional problems, it'll be easier for you.
The truth shall set you free, folks.
Yeah. Now the thing is, what you need to ask is on the other side is, what do you understand? And the answer will be everything. Everything that everything that you want will come to you in time when you're prepared for it. And the other thing with them is that the information comes immediately, because they are energy and they are information.
They're part of all of it. Yeah,
that's right. They're part and parcel of the whole thing. So, so you have gamma radiation, you have X-ray radiation, you have all this other stuff. Well, they can see that, but all at the same time, that's all part and parcel of the universe that they can extract information from. Right. And we're limited because we're in a biological container. Doesn't mean we can't. This means we're biological. Now, let me just, how much time do we have?
Well, if you let me take a quick break and you're willing to put in a little bit more time, I want you to go through that. And I have a couple of questions I want to throw at you, but we are not restricted. Okay. Everybody hang with us. We're going to take a quick break again here on the I Want to Believe radio show here on the one and only Michigan 69 Podcast Network, also Live Radio 1 and unrestrictedradio.com. Want to thank our sponsors, as always, before we go into this commercial break: Henderson Castle, hendersoncastle.com, and Gun Barrel Coffee. And I'm going to throw out a shout out to my good friend John Milne at Smokes on Verdict. That's where I get my cigars. Yes, I know people tell you it's bad for you. Listen, I don't inhale. I paraphrase that from Mr. Bush. Okay, so the whole thing is John Milne, Smokes on Verdict. That's where I get my cigars that I pair up with my whiskey and my scotch. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back for more. And we are back. Thank you for sticking with us. This is just there's never enough time, but we are not restricted. I didn't want to keep you all night long because I'm sure you got a life outside of coming to this podcast.
Just got a couple of more directions.
Yes, absolutely. Run with it, sir.
People think that I'm just a stick in the mud, you know.
Oh, you are a vault. If they can see me, you are a vault of information. Don't even think that. Go for it, sir.
So, okay. So, in your body, in our bodies as human beings, okay, we have about 20,000 pairs of DNA and RNA. About 20,000.
Right.
But it's the way they're arranged that makes the whole thing click. Okay. Now, let's say you're from another planet and you had 10,000 more pieces of DNA.
And by the way, I know I'm wearing this. I don't know why I keep getting close to this microphone. If everybody sees me, I'm sorry. And you said alien, so I was going to lean in real quick. I was going to say, because I don't believe a lot of us originally were from here. I'm just going to go with that and we'll leave that there.
Well, we're from here, but our DNA is from someplace else.
Exactly. We've been engineered.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I remember the interview last time you brought that up. Go ahead. I won't interrupt again. I'm sorry.
So I'll just kind of paraphrase this, but let's say you're from, let's say the Pleiades. Okay, star system, just for example. You have about 30,000 pairs of DNA. Now, if you're from Andromeda, you'll have probably about 50,000. Okay. Now, to go into space, to be a spacefaring society, we have to have two things. We have to have a ship that maintains our Schumer resonance of the planet. Has to be in the ship or our bodies will die. Okay, we need a Schumer resonance. Okay, that's what the Earth gives out, 7.5 hertz or whatever.
Right.
Okay. And two is we have to be telepathic, because I can talk to you telepathically and it will get to you instantaneously. But if I send you a radio wave, RF,
that'll take forever. Right.
It'll take light years for it to reach,
right?
So that's not going to work. So we have to adjust our DNA to utilize our natural ability to be able to produce and project us into a spacefaring people. Now, we can go to space and we can spend time on different planets, on the moon, whatever you want to do, go to Mars. The difference is we can only stay there a certain amount of time before our bodies, the resonance of those places, start breaking havoc.
Breaks down. Yeah, it breaks down.
Starts to break down. That's right. So you need either more DNA to correct this problem or modified DNA to make you telepathic so that you can get out into space. Now, what a lot of people in the military, Air Force, Marines, whatever, they're fighting mad because we don't have light speed. And like I said, I get back to Michio Kaku, who says, well, we'll never break light speed. But with the Einstein-Rosen bridge, we can develop a wormhole which will slip us through time and space, which would be faster than the speed of light.
But yeah, and I'm in agreement with you, because the same smart minds back in the day, you'll never break the sound barrier.
Right.
You won't have television.
Right.
You know, again.
I admire that will do it for us, because
Doctor, I'm with you. I just wish they would stop saying we can't. Tired of hearing it.
We can. But the problem is that right now, because of our development and savoir faire with our own capabilities, but the ETs don't want us to have faster than light travel.
Right.
Because they don't want us out into space because we're not mature enough to go out there. We're not real telepathic.
Right. And you're not talking conspiracy here. I want people to know that too. I'm a big believer in that as well. And the funny part that is, it's like, look what we're doing right now. If you guys can't sit in your house and watch the insane train that's going on and all around the globe and think that we should be trusted to go out there, and I'm with you. I'm just like, we have a long way to go, folks.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying psychics aren't real. I'm not saying that There's
Right.
some pretty smart people running around.
Oh, right.
But I want you to understand that Michio Kaku gets paid by Majestic 12. So
they're all getting a kickback. We know that. You're not saying anything bad. I realize that too. I think a lot of people who are with you on that same thing, even professors on a tenure, sir, they just, it's like, why do they need to why do they got to produce anything? They're getting money just to spew the same bull crap. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that. I'm with you on that. So
I don't have tenure, so there you go.
Well, right.
But like I said, we've got to do our research. We've got to understand why we're in this predicament and that we have a problem. It could be DNA. It could be the way our frequencies in our mind change.
Yeah.
Lloyd Auerbach says that we can teach someone to be psychic. We can teach someone to be sensitive or whatever. You can't do that.
Thank you. I was going to ask you how you feel about that, because I've had people come to me with that too, and it's like, I just don't know that that's true. I don't think everybody has.
No.
I say gift. I just don't think everybody has it.
No, we don't. We have scotomas. We have mental programs and blocks in our own emotions that prevent us from this. Now, getting back to my friend who's a registered nurse and psychic, she put a man under hypnosis, and he had a problem. He said, I would like to be more psychic. And she says, okay, fine. So she goes in, hypnotizes him, and comes back out. And a couple of weeks later, she gets a phone call from this guy and says, man, my intuition is through the roof. I can read people as they walk into my office. So we may not all be psychic, but we have intuitions that can help us navigate our environment. And that's a leap. That's a quantifiable leap, because we can't change the brain not unless we give you electroshock therapy. You can't be undepressed not unless we shock you and give you a bunch of drugs.
Yeah, and folks, I know some people that need that. Just saying.
Well, why don't
okay.
put them under hypnosis, okay, and say, you're no longer depressed. You're no longer whatever. You can be whatever you want. You are the freest so-called society on the planet. Why in the world are you living in a cage? And that's exactly the scenario that we have.
Mm-hmm.
It was Bill Clinton who didn't inhale. W. Bush,
I love you. Right.
Idiot. But anyway, all I'm saying is, okay, think about it. Think about it for the first time in your life. Where do all the rules and regulations come from?
Our controllers.
Who don't want you to have power.
Correct. They want to keep you right where you're at.
Exactly. Mitch McConnell said, I am the government. So, okay, with that frame of mind, I guess you can run things on your own, Mitch, because I guess we're all locked in cages. So this whole past year, 2020, should have given everyone the psychological freedom to say, I'm going to take mud and rub it on my face, or I'm going to paint a Picasso, or I'm going to do whatever. Because why? We were alone and we were caged, and we should have used our minds to get out. Our mind is the key to everything. It controls your body. It controls your reality. It controls how you perceive and how you project. Right. So if I want something, my mind is going to do that. If I want to get something, like someone throws me a surprise party, it's like, oh, no, I don't want that. It's like, I don't like, no, it's like, oh, yeah, this is cool. Be open.
Right.
Be not childish, but be interested in yourself and your environment enough to interact with it.
Right. Well, I will tell everybody quickly, and before they go off on the whole Illuminati thing, when I mentioned this, I'm a Mason, and so there's a lot of misinformation that I'm going along with you, and I'm bringing that up for a reason. It's because that's part of what we do in my lodge here in Michigan, the Blue Lodge here, and we go along that message. we're trying to make the best versions of ourselves. We're also trying to make it a better world. And I wouldn't have belonged or gotten involved with these folks if it was anything on the left or, satanic or anything else that people want to throw out there with this. Yes, there are things involved, but the message is the same. It's all I wanted to say is that I'm part of that. I want to come out here and pass on the goodness and unity is something that we can strive for. I don't know if we'll ever have it or a utopia. I'm also a big Gene Roddenberry idealist guy. That I believe that maybe we'll reach that point someday. We got a long way to go, but it all still connects to what we're talking about here with paranormal, because paranormal to me is an extension of what's going on and of everything that's in the universe, right? It's all connected. It's all one.
So it's easy for a skeptic to sit there and say, "Oh, Mike, you're full of BS," and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, well, prove me wrong."
Right.
It is not up to me to prove myself wrong because I can't.
Yeah, it's up to them.
Equipment that sees entities, that sees consciousness.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Whether I manufacture it in my laboratory, man, you should have been here yesterday when I blew up my computer and there was lithium gas, acid gas all over my lab. But anyway,
as he smiles, yeah, it's all good. We're fine. We're all fine here. It's all fine. Right.
That's fine. But anyway,
I hope so. Otherwise, we're talking to the dead.
Yeah, no.
Maybe. Okay.
But anyway, all I'm saying is that, okay, if you're a skeptic, you better prove me wrong through your own method. But if we're using the same scientific method, guess what? You better bring stuff to the table and lay your cards down.
Amen.
And then tell me that I'm wrong somehow in my logic. And if you can't,
Amen, sir.
If you can't do it that way, then I guess what? I must be right, and the skeptic must be sucking his thumb in the corner because it just ain't going to happen for them.
Yeah, they've never done that with me when I've had a few of them out with us, and even people who are working in the field. Not to again get off on that and whole nother show, but I have the same people do that to me that they want to call me out on things that I may or may not have said, or they take something I've said and of course they make up their own paraphrase out of it. And it's the same with the skeptics. I just like, well, that's not you to prove me wrong. I all I've given you is my best guess. I haven't told you anything that's absolute.
Right.
But how many EVPs do you guys need that I don't have to do anything but turn up the volume and I'll let you come with me. And if we catch something while you've gone out with me and nobody else is in this room, where the hell did that come from? And I'm not talking on the ghost box, skeptic people. I'm talking about on this digital recorder that should pick up only what it hears, which is within the confines. I've done the experiment where we've put it in a soundproof box and I still got something. Now, it took about 100 tries. I've got this written down. It took about 100 tries before I finally got something that showed up where there should be nothing on that digital recorder. And I hear like a moan. And it's inside a soundproof box, which I could literally crack with a hammer and you wouldn't hear it on the digital recorder. So I'm going off on a tangent here because the skeptics drive me insane.
I want to throw this out there too. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 58.
Okay, well, okay, we're about similar in age. So,
what are you, like 41? But
oh no, I'm 59.
Oh,
yeah,
brothers from another mother. You don't look 59.
Oh man, you should see. I got issues.
You still have more hair than I do, sir, on your head. Whatever.
I'll tell you what, it's getting thin. But I had an old friend, and he kind of had his own radio show and everything, and he was like a pioneer of some of this. And his name was Lou Gentili. Now a lot of people,
I know that name.
You'll find it in the history books, but you're not going to find it too much currently. But he had a digital recorder. I think he had two. And one he carried with him, and one he turned on and left it in his car. Now he would go in on an investigation and he would talk, so that you can hear the question with one,
right,
when he had in his hand. So he goes, "Okay, are there any ghosts in this building?" Then he'd wait a few seconds, and then he would go, "Okay, are they male? How many males and how many females, or whatever." He'd go through his list of questions.
Yep. The standard. Yep.
Okay, now on the recorder that he had, there was nothing, just his voice asking the questions. And then he would go out to his car, pull up that one, and that one would have all the answers.
Weird.
So
That's weird.
there you go. I mean, okay,
right.
Now to make this a science, heavens knows, everybody wants to be scientific. You got to have two of the same device getting the same information to call it a science. And so I built two exact things.
Yeah.
Turn them on at the same time. They get the same thing. So I guess we have a science. Now we turn on the ghost box or the recorders, the digital recorders. We turn on the video. We turn all this on. And then we sit back and say, okay, prove to me that this is not a science. When Albert Einstein had jack, he didn't have nothing. And he just wrote down some equations.
Right.
And then he didn't get a Nobel Prize for his physics. He got a Nobel Prize for his light examinations. And he was doing the same thing Newton was. So
I get you. I've done the same thing. Yeah, we've done the same thing.
All of Newton's equations and just put c by them and made them the speed of light. And then guess what? He was a mathematical genius. He was a child. And guess how he got his information? He was going to work to his patent office and got a daydream of traveling at the speed of light, riding on a wave of light. And then everything else just started to change. And he goes, wow. What are we going to call it? It's got to be called the Doppler effect. Well, they find out through sound before they found out through light. But that's the whole thing. Einstein was just throwing shit out there, throwing stuff out there.
No, you can swear. It's all good.
Yeah, just it would stick. And so people sit back and go, and like
well, like you were saying, for example, with the two devices, we found that out just incidentally, by accident. I have some EVPs that I've played on past shows where we had people in the room, two recorders. Now I try to keep it down to one or two. I don't want 4 people in a room, everybody running a recorder and everybody's taking 5,000 camera shots. You know how it goes when you start a group. So I had to learn as we went. So I had a person, which is probably about 6 to 7 feet away from me. And we had a person with us who was new to the team. I had a digital recorder going, as did Franny. And the person felt like somebody had touched her back and had out loud reported that to both of us. Franny calmed her down. Well, both digital recorders picked up a voice about the same time, but were a good 6, 7 feet apart, which I found, there you go. There's corroboration. We got two devices that were the same. They're both digital recorders, not the same models, but they're digital recorders. Right. But then what I've run into, Doctor, and tell me if you've had this happen, I'm sure you have, where we have had a noise or something happen. Digitals don't pick it up at all. We all hear it so loud, we jump. Digitals don't record that at all, or one records it and we've got two in the room and the other one doesn't. Just odd. Odd stuff.
It's the microphones. The condenser microphone that's in a lot of these only has a certain variation of what it can record. And it's normally aimed directly at the frequencies of the human voice.
Right.
It's not aimed for anything beyond it. So a lot of times one will pick it up and the other one will not. That doesn't mean that it's not ambient in the air. It just means that the range of the condensed microphone only had a certain range. And the reason why those are so narrow is because manufacturers can get it on the low, get it on the cheap. Right. And these things, all they have to do is reproduce some basic sound. So if you have to get to something more high fidelity, you have to go up in microphones. Now, I was on an investigation years ago, and we had a wireless microphone because we were doing a radio show. And so we were doing this radio show, and I took some still photography, and I got orbs. And then I said, okay, the entities are here in the room. So I grabbed the microphone away from the talk show host, because he was a waste. He was a waste of a talk show host. And I held the microphone up in the air, and I I go, okay, tell me your name. I just was there and just kind of quiet. And then I said, did you work here in this house? Very similar to your castle idea.
Right.
And there was silence. And so I give the microphone back to the radio talk show host, and he goes, well, that was a real waste of time, Lynch. You know, we could have done something else. And I was like, okay, well, when you play that back, see if you got
A response, right?
a response. Yeah, any information whatsoever. They played it back, and that was the highlight of the show. This ghost started talking through that microphone.
Right.
And it had the broad enough frequency and also the bandwidth to be remote. So that was the highlight of the show. Once they played it back and they got this external voice that no one could hear, but the microphone picked it up.
It's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. I had that happen twice on live broadcasts. Once at the State Theater, and it was brought to our attention because we're doing a live investigation. This is Blog Talk days. That's how long ago this was. And we had an audience member hit the chat because I'm busy with a teammate, and we've got 3 separate teams in this huge vaudeville theater here in Kalamazoo. Just fantastic. Yeah, built in 27 by Colonel Butterfield. Just beautiful. And they brought to the attention that when I was asking questions downstairs, and we were live through a phone. Now, we only had Nokia flip phones. It was before we had any of this crazy nonsense, you know. And so we had 2 lines coming in. My guy was upstairs on the stage with all of his equipment. I mean, he has like a radio studio. And so basically, they heard something that we didn't quite hear. And when we went back to the playback, like you said, here's somebody answering us, and we heard nothing. But it came over the phone, which I was using as a microphone for the show. And then at another incident, it came right over the microphone. We were in another location and doing the same thing. And I just said, we're all going to take a moment. I'm going to do an EVP session here live, like you said. And like you did, I actually did one of those numbers, which is weird that you did that, because I hadn't seen any orbs or anything. I just put it up over my head because I didn't want any noise off the table or anything else. And I held it as still as I could. And sure enough, somebody heard something. And I didn't. I had phones on because I'm getting all the sound that comes through the system. And I heard nothing, but people heard it, and we recorded it. So I guess I like sharing that because I'm just so in love with this field and so amazed when you're doing things, I think, earnestly with good intention. That's something I wanted to close out the end of the show with, is that people need to, if you're going to do this, I think you have to have, like you said, a good understanding. Keep your mind open to the things you've shared here today, this morning, whenever you're listening to the program. Intention, folks. I don't allow my group to go out there and call people out and act crazy like Ghost Adventures. Okay, it's just nonsense. I'm sorry to be rude, but I don't go for that business. We treat everybody I think we're coming in contact with, whether it's parallel universe or ghost, and I want to have you back on, Doctor, so that we can approach it from that angle too, and maybe the window in time as well, because I know we'll have more time to cover all that. But I am in love with this. Good intention, folks. That's what I'm preaching here. Good intentions. Go in there with kindness in your heart. And, if you want to open doors, let me just tell you this real quick. I bring this up on most shows. You can make a Ouija board out of a freaking pizza box, folks. Okay. I don't think it's magical. It's a stupid game that was invented. Look the history up. All I'm telling you is that you're opening a door to contact anytime you say, is there anyone here that would like to speak to me? I don't care if you got a recorder going or not. You just open the door. So good intentions is going to bring in good things. If you feel you're getting something negative, shut it down.
Yeah.
And know what you're doing when you're doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just point at this thing. This is a cell phone.
Yep.
And why do we call it a cell? Because it's a part of a larger communication network. Yep. Now, think of the cell in your body. The reason why we're made of a lot of the water is because so that communication can flow through the water, as well as chemicals to keep us alive. Yep. But if we get a bad signal, the cell dies. See? So this cell phone mimics the cells in our body on a larger network. We're just more compressed. That's all. Now, getting back to your ghost box thing, I was on an investigation. I videotaped, no lie, 1,749 entities at one location. 1,749, something like that. If we had tried to turn a ghost box on, guess how many voices we would have gotten? Okay, we would have gotten 500 or 600, people trying to something.
Right. And people, you see me shaking my head. Those who hear me audio wise can't see that, but he's correct. That's what I was alluding to where you have so many
Clusters.
entities trying to speak to you at one time sometimes, right?
Exactly. And when you see them, you kind of stand back because they become like a colony, and they swirl like a tornado. They kind of swirl around you like fish in a school of fish. And when you're videotaping them, you don't really know whether to run or just to stay still. But they will go around you, and then they'll kind of move on. But people would ask me, okay, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? And I would say, well, man, I see tons of entities. Well, the average person sits there and goes, well, I don't see a thing. I don't feel a thing. I'm not getting any psychic impressions.
Right.
Well, you're not designed for this. My equipment is designed for this. And that's why this is the way it works. So I can narrow down what I'm looking at and how I'm trying to communicate with that.
Right.
And what bothers me the most is that, I was one of the first, always, people to take out a first aid kit with me every single time. And I took a psychic with me almost every single time. And that was the only way we could get into that world, was to have a psychic kind of feel around and start to communicate with an entity.
Right.
Now, a lot of times in the very beginning, I never trusted what the response was.
I didn't either at first. Right.
Later on, as we kind of got used to the
process, and you find the right people that have the gift. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll tell you the difference. For me, and with all my resources, it took me 6 months to uncover something that we had and try to investigate. Okay, so what my psychic did in 30 minutes took me 6 months of paperwork to finally come out with the same exact information.
Right.
So then I started realizing, okay, I'll check with the psychic first and then do the
right.
Kind of the direction.
See, you tell people Hans wasn't all that crazy about using psychics in most of his early stuff. People they still berate that. And I'm just like, well, but he also says in there that he went through so many people to find the right people. He didn't just trust everybody. You can't. Right.
I forgot her name. Your brain starts to go after a while. But there was a woman who lived, say in Virginia, maybe. And was
Virginia.
It was close to a Civil War battlefield. And there were markers out there in an old church. And she lived very close to that. So she went down to her basement with a reel-to-reel tape recorder and a old-fashioned analog mic. And she would sit there every night for 20 years. And she would sit there and say, the microphone is open. Does anybody want to talk to me? And she would sit there and say, my name is blah, blah, blah.
Right.
The dates and the time. And she would let it play. And she would just, let it play. Maybe sometimes she'd ask a question or so or tell a little story. And then when she played it back on reel to reel, the voices came through.
Yeah.
This was long before there was a concept of a spirit.
And again, they can't see me shaking my head, but yes, I think I remember her being featured on
Sightings.
Something on CBS maybe that they did back in the day. I don't know. It doesn't matter who did it. I remember her playing those and them talking to her.
Yeah.
And that's the one where the gentleman answered her and said, I came here to see the war.
Yeah.
There were people in the area, including policemen near her home, that were he would look in his rearview mirror and he would see these soldiers cross the road.
Yeah.
So she's amazing. Yeah, that was amazing stuff.
She said that she would play it on one side and then she'd flip it over. I don't know how she had the time of the day to do this, but she would flip it over, and sometimes the answers would be on the back of the tape.
Yep, I remember that.
So
Yeah.
remember the old reel-to-reels, the heads would collapse
Yep.
on the tape.
To make contact. Yep.
Right, to make contact. So the whole idea was that if it wasn't coming from one head, it was coming from the other. And so
I can't show you, Doctor, but I have a cassette tape player in there that I still use, because I know where you're going with this, and we still use a couple of old video cameras that, like a digital signal gets interrupted. People don't understand that. With those heads, they maintain contact, and I've had stuff in the middle of that show up in voices and images, crazy stuff, right? Is that where you're going with that a little bit?
I was kind of going with that until the digital age, but anyway, so
right.
I grew up in television. Television was everything to me. So I went to a meeting one time with another group, and I didn't even say who I was. I just kind of sat in the back. And so this guy gave a 35-minute lecture on how VHS tapes were more authentic than digital tapes, digital recordings.
Yeah.
Because it was analog. And
right.
This whole thing on why and blah, blah, blah. Well,
yep.
I grew up in that world, so I'm like, okay. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, and he's going to say, buy my book, buy my stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I go, man, this doesn't gel. So I stood up in the back and I asked a question. I go, so what are you trying to tell me? Is that analog video is superior to digital DVR video? And he goes, absolutely. He was trying to make this point about resonance and recording, and that was more authentic.
Yeah.
Well, I just shook my head and got up and walked out, because what I build is a DVR that records digitally through a digital camera, and then I transfer that to my computer, all in digital form, and the entities are still there. So
right, and my thing that I was putting in line there, just so you know, and other people know, is that I don't go all to the left with what that gentleman was telling you and preaching to the crowd. My thing is they both work.
Yeah.
I don't really prefer one or the other. I just tell everybody that sometimes I've been able to catch things when the digital goes down, because when the signal's interrupted, it just stops. You get nothing.
Right.
And I'm with you. I'm not telling anybody that the old school's better, but I use both, folks, is what I'm preaching here. I use old school stuff. You know what? If anybody can see me, of course, it's a lot smaller than this, but my investigators hate me because I make them take a small notepad and a pen. Everybody better have a flashlight. That's another old school. So that when you're having things happen, and this is something I learned in my law enforcement training, write it down immediately, because you think you're going to remember and you will forget. Right. And the same with this analog stuff. I use old school alongside both, because I'm trying to not have that fault area in between as least that I can. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Well,
okay.
I just got tired of hauling that old VHS stuff around. So
yeah, me too. Yeah.
Smaller, your knees can only take so much. But anyway, I hauled that stuff around all the way till I was 30, 35, 36, man. I own shows and everything. The thing is that I know what it can do and its weaknesses and what it can't do.
Right.
So my idea was to not reinvent the wheel, but develop something from this technology that's going to get us into the 21st century. And then that's really where I had to go. We had to stop and say, no, this is not going to cut it. We need something else. And we kept going until we got it. And so, but again, it's experimentation. No one in the field of parapsychology got it right the first time.
No. Go back and read papers of the parapsychology organization out of Great Britain. I mean, come on. There was a lot of leaps and bounds and jumps and
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, there's a whole
What do
filing
you?
topic at the Rhine University the Rhine, that has nothing but premonitions in them, dreams that came true, but people had them as premonitions. So they would write this down, write a letter, send it to the Rhine Institute.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like yeah.
that's fine, but you can collect all that data if you don't know where that information is coming from, that time is not linear. If you can't get out of that box and say time is whatever it wants to be, then all that.
Toughest thing for me in a lecture with a crowd is to explain that one. And I said, I just don't, when I start saying, well, I don't think time, is linear compared to what's going on the other side, if you want to call it that. People just like, the stairs. They're not following me, but you get it. And as I said, and if you don't know where it's coming from, you can't backtrack it. Then how are you going to know where to put it and where to qualify any of this stuff that you're taking in?
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you something, and of course the thought is fleeting, but I want to get down and run this one to the end here, and thank you for coming on. But there's so much more, as long as you don't mind my interview style,
No.
and my constant stupid interruptions, and my I always got to throw comedy in here. I want to have you back
Sure.
as
Sure.
many times as you want. I want to ask your permission here on the show that we're able to put up some of your content on the network, because we had it up there before with all your Zen material and all the stuff you have out. I'd like to put that up as well.
Yeah.
And if you're inclined, sir, I know you got a lot going on, or maybe you don't. I don't know what's going on with you in the COVID situation, but if you're inclined to want to be part of our network, we would love to have you do some segments. You do something, send it to me. I want you up there. Now, that's not to make us shine. That's because you have great information, and I want to expose it out there to folks.
Now,
And
if you want, I mean, I got some videos on YouTube that you can go and download and slap it on your page. I kind of stumbled into a few things you guys were doing. So, but it's really, free information. I didn't make a dime off of any of it. And I hate to say this, but when we kind of went public back in 2000, late 90s, when we went public, people would look at this like, man, this ain't quite it. So anyway, let me just tell you a quick story, is that I went to a guy who was called the Haunt Hunters. I think it was Haunt Hunters. And he was in his 60s. I was in my 30s at the time. Because when I sit down with a friend of mine, I said, we can figure this out in about 6 months. 6 months, we'll have this whole paranormal thing taken care of. No problem. And so I went out and saw this guy, and his only tool was a card table and a Ouija board. And he said that he was going to write his first book, and it was about the adventures of his team. Okay. And I just thought, oh my God, a Ouija board and a card table, and that was it. That was how he determined if there were ghosts in the room or not. So,
wow, you and I have so many stories we need to share on another show. Go ahead.
I said, okay, well, thank you for your time. And I walked out to my car. I turned around and looked back, and I said, man, I can have this knocked out in a year. Give me a year. Well, it took us 4 years with military equipment to get to where we wanted to go. We took a year off, and we came back with our modified equipment and started making headway. But let me just say this, and I give kudos to Barry Taft's friend, who sent him some video in 1989 from a Sony Handycam of entities. Barry didn't know what to do with it. And his friend says, these are ghosts. They're running around this room. They're in this closet, da 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 da. And Barry Taft said, well, we've never done this before. Okay. Well, that was 1989. 10 years later, almost the date, in 1999, we had built and developed our own way of seeing entities. And on the first investigation we did, we caught 8 entities. And it blew everyone away. They had no idea what this was, but we did because we were there. So, you know, I cannot convince Lloyd today that what I capture is consciousness, because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't believe it.
Right. Right.
And it's like, well, I don't believe it is. They tell me who they are. They tell me that they're conscious. You know, they act like they're conscious.
Yeah.
I got doctors in the field talking to me about physics. And it's like, yeah, it's all electromagnetic. I mean, I can set up a motion detector. I mean, go down to Lowe's or Home Depot, get a $14 motion detector, plug it into something you can put in the wall, you know, electrical cable, and it's set up in your hallway.
Yep.
In a haunted house or your castle.
We have them. Yeah, we have them. Yep.
Set it there, I put a light in there, and then sit behind it. And when that thing goes off and nobody's in front of you, then it's not a mosquito, it's not a bug. It's got to be large enough for it to warp.
Break that eye. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. So to warp space enough, that means moving molecules in order for that to go off. And I have set up a motion detector up high, and I aimed it like this. I aimed it at a 45-degree angle. Then I had another one low at another 45-degree angle like this. So they're not crossing the beams. They're just going two different directions.
Now, what's with you and the Ghostbuster references tonight? Yeah, you didn't cross the streams, okay? So everybody just relax.
Like,
yeah. But I get what you're saying, right?
So I didn't cross the streams, so I knew that they wouldn't cycle off of each other.
Right.
So what happens is, okay, so we're like this.
Right.
This is looking at the closet where the ghost is. The ghost lives in the closet. And then this is at the door into the bedroom. So if the ghost goes from the closet to the door, this will blink first and then stop. And then this one will blink second as it goes out the door. Okay, right. Not saying it's going to go through the door. I'm just setting it up that way.
Right.
So we sit there. And then we have another parapsychologist who's also got some religion in his background. He shows up and he says, "What are you guys doing?" And I said, we're watching, waiting for the ghost. And the guy goes, "Okay," like we were crazy or something. But anyway, so what happens is I set up a camera. I set up a video camera. And we are watching the motion detectors. And the motion detector aimed toward the closet goes off first. It starts to blink. Blink, 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 blink. Then all of a sudden it stops blinking. Okay? And so the other one aimed at the door starts blinking. Blink, 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 blink. And I said, "It's coming downstairs." And sure as the world, that entity came right downstairs. And we watched, we could follow every movement by its motion. Okay? So there's an old Star Trek reference. I'm going to throw this in. Balance of Terror, I think it was called. Balance of Terror, Star Trek, first original, where there's a cloaking device on a Romulan ship.
Yep.
And they can only sense it through motion.
Yeah, I'm just kind of a Trekkie, just
a
little bit.
Yeah. Actually, I had my little Romulan ship, Bird of Prey. It looks like a little bird of prey.
Yep.
Anyway, so the idea is, they're saying, well, it shouldn't. It doesn't exist. We can't fire on it. And the guy goes, "Well, if we use motion detection, we can get close, but not accurate." And so that's kind of the idea.
Right.
Motion detection gets you close. Video gets you more accurate. A ghost box gets you information. But all of it is E equals I.
Yep.
Energy equals information. Information is energy. And
man,
is
I want to take that from you and make a T-shirt.
Yeah, do it, man. It's on my Facebook page. Just look for the E equals I. It has a ghost behind it.
You betcha.
But that's the idea. It doesn't matter if it's an orb or a wisp of smoke or a full-bodied astral projection or apparition. The idea is that is only energy. It's just energy. But energy can move things. Energy is solid enough to move things. It can just do its vibration. That's how we get EVPs. It's not really electronic voice phenomena. It's electronic pulse phenomena. It's
even better. Yeah, like that even better.
yeah, and that's why your sentences are 3 or 4 words at a time. And it breaks. And there's 3 or 4 words.
I was getting wonky for a while there, doctor, because I was telling people I want to kind of stop calling this stuff evidence. It's more like clues. it's a clue that we're because evidence is a perception that we've got something that, hey, look, I found a fingerprint of this ghost. Well, that's not what we found. What we found is we captured a voice, which is a clue to what we may be dealing with.
Now, there's a guy, I want to warn everybody out there, you can find him on YouTube, and I don't like him. His name is Chris French. He's British. And he calls everything that we're doing a pseudoscience. Okay, pseudoscience, like it's witchcraft or voodoo or something. I don't know what he's...
Oh, boy.
His name is Chris French, and he has several lectures that he gives on YouTube. The shortest one is 35 minutes. The longest one's like an hour and a half. If you ever have like a rainy day and you're bored out of your skull and you're playing with your handheld revolver, putting it to your skull, watch
okay.
or you pull the trigger, because he is a moron. I'm not going to say moron. He is least connected.
No, I've got names I should throw out here too.
That you could ever possibly imagine. He doesn't know anything. The British Parapsychological Society is back in the 1800s saying the Earth is flat and gorillas don't exist.
The Psychical Research Society. Yeah,
you might as well call it the past zeitgeist.
And they were horrible. They were horrible to their own people at times. If they didn't like something that was out there, then
they kicked you out of the club.
And then ruined your name and
and this Chris French guy, him and somebody else, they claim, I don't know what they claim, but their argument is that nothing can be proved. There's nothing can be proven. It's like, dude, it's been around for 2,000 years.
Yeah, and if you're going to go on that precept, buddy, how do you explain that you're walking around cognizant and breathing and living, and you look around outside nature when your own thought process, and if you're going to go on your own science, none of this should exist, but it does, right? So you can't get these guys to think in any kind of logical terms. You can't change stupid. You really can't. I tell my friends, you can argue with stupid, but you're definitely never going to win the argument.
So the American Indians, getting back to that, called this the sleep. I'm asleep.
Yeah.
That when I get into the other world, I'm awake.
That's when you get real woke. Okay, folks?
Yeah, this is
too soon.
This is sleep. We're asleep right now. We're asleep right now.
I believe that.
When we die, we go into the real world. So
correct.
This is the sleep time. The Aborigines called it something else, like the before time or the mist, the time of the mist. But anyway, the idea is that they know, the American Indians know that there's a larger...
Right. And we know that there's a percentage of where a lot of their mysticism is just that. But, if you really got to be honest, they were in tune with a lot of things that we just don't want to hear, I guess.
Right.
And
when you get to Plato's Republic, where he writes about he dies for like 4 or 5 days. He's dead. And he comes back and he says, "What did you see?" And he says, "I saw a stairway going up and a stairway going down." And he says, "I saw all my soldier friends who I went to battle with there in line. And I was told to stand to the side and watch them pass. Some went up, some went down." And then we get the idea of Jacob's ladder.
Yep.
Everything in an altered state of reality. And they start to see this stuff. I'm gonna lock my chair next time. I'm so sorry.
It's like a funny version of Dr. Evil. You're just sliding off with your chair. Too funny.
Yes, Dr. Evil. But anyway.
No. You're not. I didn't mean it that way.
No. But anyway, so the whole idea is that where did we get this mysticism, this idea of heaven and hell?
Mm-hmm.
It's through near-death experiences.
Right.
Written down over time. Okay. And getting back to your intent thing, that's what this whole thing is about. That's what this life is about. That's what this matter is about. That's what this whole thing is about, is the intent. The intent. And then you can change that program in your mind with that intent. Am I going to be good today? Am I going to be bad today? Am I going to figure this out? And that's the other thing too. I want to tell Mr. and Mrs. America out there, because we're going through some difficult times. Listen, you never tell Americans that what they cannot do, because they're going to do it. You know, don't tell me I can't figure out the paranormal, because guess what? I'm going to figure out the paranormal.
Amen.
Tell me.
Preach it, brother.
You know what?
Preach it.
I'm back in the lab. We're doing this. Now, I tell you, I got a lot of friends, and they stick needles into the heads of people and rats. Now, there's that thing up in Colorado, and not Colorado, Canada, and that guy did that thing. He was investigating the paranormal through brain research, and he was sending electrical signals through the brain, which all of a sudden the patient started getting memory, or they get this out of body experience, or something would go on, and then they go, oh, this is just all a fictitious development of the mind. It has nothing to do with reality. We just alter it. But then you sit there and go, where is the mind? Is the mind in your head? No, it's not. It's in my fingers. The mind is in my toes. You know, we have this relationship, this sympathetic nerve system, this autonomic
symbiotic relationship, right.
Right, with our own bodies.
Yep.
Okay. Now here's another thing. I want you to take a glove, take a like a rubber glove, and I want you to turn it inside out. Now, when you turn it inside out, what it is your spirit is being put into your body, and it turns itself inside out to make this. So what
you got somebody listening from the Green Isle. I don't know where that's.
That's the Emerald Isle. Is that?
It says from the Green Isle. Somebody named Vlad the Impaler.
Oh well, he's
Vlad. That's quite the name.
Yeah. Now Vlad, the ruler of Russia right now. You know, he's been around for a long time. He's a vampire.
Yes. Yeah. So is this like Count Dracula, the real Count Dracula? Count Dracula. Yeah. Count Dracula.
The son of the dragon.
There you go.
He had a unique sense of humor, you might say.
Oh, yeah. Well.
So anyway,
yeah, right.
You know, I'm just saying that yogis in India, as well as psychics in America, as well as Aborigines in Australia, American Indians, native, can reach these altered levels, these altered states. Sure, it can be marijuana, it can be peyote, it can be a dance, tribal dance, it can be whatever you want it to be, but those states exist, and they all reach them. They all get there.
Yeah, they weren't wrong. Yeah, they're there.
Wrong. No, so you can't sit there and say, "Oh, he's just high. He's not going anywhere. He's not doing anything." No, dude. Okay, how many times has Dr. Raymond Moody written a book about near-death experiences? How people actually went someplace, and they were there. They were talking to other people. Okay, and you can't tell them that they didn't do that. When the medical profession says, no, they were dead. They were dead.
Right.
We're looking at the same coin, just on the other side.
Yeah.
We're inside out, not outside in.
Well, it's wonderful to hear that more and more doctors, mine included. I've got a personal physician who talks about this because he knows I'm into this thing. And he's spoken very openly to me about that he believes, because he's had people come back to life. He's lost them for a few minutes. My mother, rest her soul, I know she's listening right now. When she had her first heart attack, she had this out of body experience that she shared with me, and it fell in line with a lot of things that people report. Like you said, She said that she thought she saw some family members, but then there was a light and she heard voices telling her it was not her time. And they told her to go back. And then she went back and then she woke up in the hospital. They ended up, bringing her back. And she was very moved by that. And she just thought that she knew that some family members or whoever. And she said that she also felt there was just so much love and this warmth. And
Exactly.
again, I mean, it's not, my mom said she didn't want it to be like this religious experience. It was more than that. And that made a lot of sense to me. And I said, well, that's wonderful. And she did have a fear of passing away, because what she finally did, because she didn't want to miss me and her grandkids and all that stuff. That's a human experience. But as far as the paranormal side of that was unique, listening to her description. And I've only talked to one other person that's happened to, that has a memory of it, because I have a couple of friends who've been in serious accidents, their heart stopped, but they don't have any memory. And I died when I was born, um, for a few minutes. And maybe that's why I have some of the things I have too. I don't know where to go with that, but I don't have any obviously memory, because I was a child, I was a baby. But I'm with you. Like I said, I think what this all comes down to, I really believe what you've said is earnest, true, and honest. Um, that it's all energy, it's all vibration, it's energy, it's frequency. I believe that. We've proven that. I don't know how much more these skeptics need to hear, or these scientists that won't open their minds. If I were to even go deeper, I've had some wonderings and thoughts that, let's go as far back as the Big Bang, not to blow people's minds here, but uh, is that a cognizant thought of what we want to call God? Is that a thing that exploded because he created that in his mind, or a dream state? I don't know what to tell everybody, because we exist in his universe, right?
Right.
So what's so wrong about thinking about that?
Nothing. Now, let me just drop another little atom bomb here.
Please do. You always blow my mind.
There are five known universes. Okay. But in the reality, there are 50 universes. Now, so we haven't scratched the surface of our own solar system.
Not even touched, right? Not even touched.
Scratching the surface. Okay.
We don't even know what's in our oceans. So come on.
Yeah, or on our own planet. I mean, does Bigfoot exist? Yeah, he does. But
I think so. Yeah. Whole other show.
Yeah, he does.
Right.
But the whole idea is that there's so much larger of a horizon, and maybe through another time, another place, I can tell you how much more our love needs to grow.
Right.
Or we're allowed off this planet. Now,
that's a good message.
This is going to be a whole show, and you won't even believe it, half of it, but the other half you're going to believe. Now, I don't know, maybe your partner there has that old website. I'll send it to you on the email. But
send it to me. But I would like to have you back. I'd like to have you back in about a week or so, if you're available.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so much more. I do these shows to pick your mind, Doctor, more than I do to probably share the message, which sounds very selfish, folks. I apologize. No, but this man, you just have so much to share.
Let me just say one thing, okay? There's an old song you sing if you went to church as a kid. You put your candle under a basket and you say no, because you want your light to shine. You want your light to shine.
Right, okay. Right.
And that's simple. That's a simple concept. Let your light shine. 2, a sun thousands of light years away can blow up, go to supernova. And we, in time, at the speed of light, will receive that energy. Okay? Yeah. So there's nothing in this universe that is not connected.
Correct.
Okay, we're all interconnected. But the idea is don't let the darkness take away from your light.
And I love your emotion there, because me going through health issues that I have, and
Right.
just to be transparent with my audience and friends, I was in the hospital for 9 days with a rear peritoneum bleed for no unexplained reason. I was dying, and I called in, the priest, and I was bleeding. They couldn't get it to stop. Now, miraculously, thank the angels and the Lord, wasn't my time, and it healed itself. And they call me Mr. Enigma here at the hospital.
Yeah.
But I since have other things. Where I'm going with that, folks, is I feel his emotion, because I feel the same way. I have a chance to shine my brightest and go out here and do good and spread the message. And even though I say some things against some people or do some things on occasion, it's because I'm also aware that I shouldn't suffer fools or crazy things either. But
Yeah.
I'm like you, Doctor. I want people to just start getting the message that the reason, with the times going on right now, and I'll end the show on this note, that the reason I haven't bandwagoned with a lot of different things is there's reasoning behind why I don't. But the biggest thing I preach is that we all just need to stop the precepts, drop all this crap, understand that we're all, if you want to talk about race or anything, and it's still spiritual, still part of the paranormal as far as I'm concerned, we're all one. This is all one. If you want to say you're part of a race, we're human race, okay? The thing that has to understand is that we're all going to be together as one out there in this vastness. Once our soul, our energy transforms from this physical being and goes off into that net, the internet of creation, okay?
That's right.
That's my message, and I'm with you. I get emotional all the time too. And as a guy who also does pastoring, and I've done some funerals and I've done some weddings, I preach the same message. Let's just stop the insanity, folks. Open your minds, will you? Love can transform everything. Trust me, it can.
Let me just throw this one little tidbit. It's just free gratis.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Vera, who's on another talk show, he died. He died for like 3 or 4 minutes or something like that. That's what he said, maybe 5 minutes. And he said he didn't go anywhere. It was just black for him.
Right. I've heard that too. Yeah.
And I've heard that too. And I said, well, you didn't leave your body, or if you left your body, you were just in the ambient void. You know what I'm saying? So, and then the other thing is, for free gratis, I'm not saying anything bad about the dead, but Art Bell confided in me and said, I don't believe in any of this. And after 30 years on radio, 30 years, man, on
right. I don't think you're the first. You're the only person I heard that from. I think somebody else who knew him well recently said that too, that he had said something like that. But now he has the answer. Now he has the answers.
He does know now that we're correct, because I talked to a few people and they say, oh, he believes it now, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you can be in the center of the eye of the storm and not believe and not understand.
Right.
Or you can be kind of like me. I'm off to the side. I'm kind of like trying to fit this all together,
I'm like you. I'm always I'm teetering around in the background, kind of taking it all in. I know where I'm at spiritually. I got my relationship, with who I am and as an individual. But I'm the same as you, man. I'm taking it in. I'm trying to continue to grow, even at 58. I don't know it all, but I'm trying to learn. I keep learning.
But I keep learning. What? That elephant is in that room, and we're not.
I love that.
Older anymore. We know what's going on. The other thing is, I just want to throw this out. Like I said, I don't like to. There are no unintelligent people. They're just people that lack information or certain things about information.
Yes, or they're so stuck in an area where they don't want to perceive it.
But
maybe that's fear driven. I don't know.
Yeah, but that limitation is what keeps the whole human race down.
Yep.
You're talking
yes,
about,
sir.
That's the first key. We got to throw greed out the door and start getting this love going in, because there's other races that look at us and say, we're the bastard child. We're the child that no one was talked to at Christmas time, because we're just that low on the totem pole.
Doctor, you're so right. I make jokes on the Big Dog Show all the time that I believe in UFOs, and I'm with you. And when we had you on last time, that I know they're here. I want you to talk about all that on the next show. My joke is that they have got to be they've got to be loving the shit show they're watching when they're here. And some of them are in control and some of them aren't. And the ones that aren't, like I said, they come here and they're probably just like, can you believe what we're what we're seeing? You can't. They're probably saying the same thing in their alien language, like you can't write this shit. It's there it is. It's real. It's right there.
I can go through this out. The other day, I lived very comfortably knowing there were 57 different alien species visiting Earth. Well, then the other day, I got a note, and it was 67 different species visiting Earth. Now, that's not counting the robots, the AIs, and the probes and all that stuff. Not counting that, just 67. And I said, that's fine. I said, I have no qualms with 67. Well, then I get this paranormal investigator from Australia. She's written a new book, and it's 250. And she's sketched them all because she's psychic, and she goes off into the space and she looks for extraterrestrials. And then when she does, she makes a note what planet they're on, and she talks to a few, she draws a picture. She's got that book out now. 250. It was like, who would have guessed it? Who would have thunk it? I wouldn't have thought it. I was very comfortable with 67.
Very comfortable, right?
And a few androids, you know what I'm saying? A few synthetics, but oh no, there's going to be somebody new coming around the corner. That's fine with me. I don't care if there's a million different species. You should have it's just where you want your paradigm to be, and that's what the paranormal is. I'm sorry to say, that's what the paranormal is.
No.
There's always room to go up. There's always room to go up. And
always. And on that note, folks, I'm comfortable with 69 because this is in the name of our network, and there is a story behind that. But Doctor, thanks for coming on the program. It is a joy. We never have enough time, and I would like to have you back in about a week or so if you've got some free time for me and Bob. And we'll go into some more things. But this is I Want to Believe, and Dr. Michael Lynch, thank you so much. And do you have anything to tell people where to find you? Any of that information?
Just go to YouTube, type in Michael Lynch, and you'll get a series of videos. I think I got 8 up there, and you can watch those. I've got one that's out there. I didn't want anyone to see, but it's a lecture video. It's called The Theory of Everything. I got it in 30 minutes, which needs to be added to, so it'll be 40 minutes when I get done with it. But there's no narration because I designed it for lectures.
Right.
I was going to narrate live, so it has no narration. But that was going to be my next.
Well, I've told you before. With you've got that voice. You've got that voice for that. And when I've watched all these Zen things, I'm trying to. I hate to tell you this. It's not because you're not boring. It's just you're so smooth, and it's so. I don't know. I told Bob. I said, it's almost like I drift into the dream state when I listen to him because his voice can put you out, but you're still awake and you're getting the information. And Bob's like, I know. We call it a trance, right? We're in a trance from Michael's voice. So
I just want people to not be afraid. I want to look at things through a different perspective, different lens,
right?
And not to be afraid and come to become familiar with it. Come reach the Zen, reach the understanding. I had to throw so much stuff out the door and throw away my antiquated belief systems.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we all do.
But
thank you for being on the show, and I want you back again. We're going to touch on aliens and Bigfoot. I mean, I want to go after all this stuff because there's a lot I believe in, and there's a lot that I don't, because I'm open to the idea of that the minute you close your mind down and don't think outside the box in a healthy way, you're shutting yourself off to the experience or something that may come along. But Doctor, thank you so much for being on the show. I want you to have a good rest of your week and a great weekend, and I will be in touch. And you were so patient with me and trying to figure out our format here, because Skype has not been happy with us for some reason. And we've done shows and we have no audio. We just got a bunch of people doing Charlie Chaplin. So, all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You guys be good. I'll email you some stuff or send it through Facebook or whatever. But
We'll do. And on the air invite, sir, on the air invite. So spring or summer, when I put together an event at Henderson Castle, I would like you to come up. Sure. I will pay for your room for you to stay at the castle. You will be my guest, as well as Francois Moyer, who owns the castle. And we are going to do an event where you and I investigate this place and kind of see what you feel there. And I'd love to have you up and, not making a dime off it other than having you up. And
that'd be fine. I can drive up. I've never been real far north. So, but I just don't get out too much anymore.
Yeah, I'm in Kalamazoo, so driving to you isn't really too much because I've been down to your area quite a few times too. So,
okay.
And I'll come down visit. You got something going on? You'd like to have me and Bob come down or something? I now have a vintage camper, my friend. So I'm ready. Me and Mama Cat are ready to travel and have experiences.
Sure, RV in it, man. But that'd be great. I'd love to do that, and if we can work out, something.
Right. Just don't invite me to the Lemp Mansion with the crew. Another story for another show, folks.
In a burrito served in a cold dish. I mean,
I'm sorry, I had to bring that up. All right. You take care, sir.
Thank you very much. It's glad pleasure to talk to you guys.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me here on the I Want to Believe radio show. That was Dr. Michael Lynch. And just some closing notes. We get a little deep there at the end. And, I try not to bring like a religious feel to anything. Again, it's more of a spiritual aspect. And Vlad, thanks for coming over and staying with us. I don't know if you're still there. Dr. Lynch has a lot of great things to say and share, and it's worth a while to go check out his stuff on YouTube as well as ours. So remember, you can find the audio adventures of us over at Red Circle Podcast, also at the Michigan 69 Podcast Network. So go to www.themichigan69podcast.com. You will find links over there to Live Radio 1, which is on Facebook. Paranormal Now Network, which is also under our Michigan network, as well as our sponsors and friends, the Henderson Castle, built by Frank and Mary Henderson in 1895, and it is here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Go to hendersoncastle.com and check out all the great events and check out the rooms if you're ever up this way. Beautiful bed and breakfast, just a beautiful place, beautiful time. And when you come up to visit, hit me up and say hi to the big dog. I'll be happy to come spend some time with you there. Also, Gun Barrel Coffee. My friends Brian, Sal, and Michael over there. Get yourself, as you see on video here, some Gun Barrel Coffee. Oh, God, stuff smells so good. All right. You guys take care. Have a good night. Have a great weekend. And we'll catch you again right here on I Want to Believe Radio.